Hello, my name is John Epperson and welcome to my Business Intelligence project for Microsoft. Before getting into the heart of the presentation, there has to be some background of what business intelligence is and steps that need to be taken for the successful integration of business intelligence solutions into any organization. Since the advent of the computer and the birth of the information age, there has been a massing of data that is just getting bigger. Therefore, there has been a constant move to create BI solutions that can process the vast amount of accumulated data. In simplest terms, business intelligence is the processes, technologies, and tools that give users the ability to acquire actionable insights from raw data to help in making decisions for an organization or business. It is through BI solutions that inferences can be made to further organizational goals and ultimately increase revenue and efficiency. One of the fast-moving sectors in the realm of BI solutions is business analytics, which when run correctly can provide correlations between variables and predictions so that companies can decrease inventory storage, increase customer satisfaction, enhance productivity, and manage accumulated data, just to name a few. With this being said, the purpose of this endeavor is multifaceted and that there will be a move to provide an overview of the capabilities of BI solutions, demonstrate the SDLC of the solution, and provide a synopsis of how business analytics software can be used on public datasets. The first thing that needs to be done is to provide some background on Microsoft and give the reasons that this organization and datasets were chosen for this analysis. As most everyone is aware of, Microsoft is a computer software and applications giant in the industry and has been at the center of the information technology growth and business intelligence solutions as a whole. The company was founded in 1975, and after the 1980s and currently, Microsoft's applications are integrated into PCs as a staple. Although Microsoft has not had viable competition in the past with regards to operating systems, Amazon and Google have surpassed this conglomerate in terms of business analytics solution development and utilization. This is one of the reasons why Microsoft was chosen for this analysis, but another reason is that there is some discrepancy as to whether Microsoft is one of the leading places to work for. And this it has meant that although the company has great pay, diversity, and influence, Microsoft is seen to be trailing behind in a lot of jargon, long work hours, career stagnation, and an overabundance of politics and bureaucracy. It is important to note that I have never worked for Microsoft, so everything that has been obtained is through research and that of technological innovations of the company have changed the course of history no matter what the views of its employees are. After the company was picked that the project was going to be about, there had to be some direction as to what questions need to be answered to retrieve the desired data. All of the data in the world is useless if there is not a viable question being asked or some insights that are trying to be gained. Therefore, there was a move to determine the level of satisfaction for working for Microsoft versus some of the other major tech companies. And planning the software that is needed to implement a BI solution, it is applicable to use the system development life cycle, which consists of planning, analysis, design, and implementation. There will not be great detail given on the SDLC, but the planning phase has to deal with why the system is needed and how it will be implemented. And thinking of terms of this project, the planning phase had to deal with retrieving data sets, determining what questions need answered, and then moving into the analysis phase, which has to do with formulating and analyzing strategies and requirements gathering. This data set that was obtained was from GovLab Global Networks and contained various information on over 500 companies. The screenshot is provided of the initial information that was obtained to show how much data there is to demonstrate the need to extrapolate the desired insights for it other than going from observation to observation. The next that was required was from Kaggle and contains over 60,000 employee reviews of Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Facebook. This data set is much the same as the previous one in that the amount of information that is contained in it needs to be broken down into actionable insight. It is this information that is obtained from Kaggle that holds the bulk of the information that is desired to render some inferences as to what the best company is to work for in terms of employee satisfaction. Before anything can be done with the data, a determination needs to be made as to what the best BI solution would be to run the analysis. One of the most important things to remember about BI solutions is that usually the data is coming in from different mediums, which means that a lot of manual work has to be done to integrate the data into one warehouse so that it can be extrapolated and then processed. It is fortunate that two data sets that were retrieved are both MS Excel spreadsheets, so that the solution should either be able to support Excel data or a warehouse needs to be utilized to extract, transform, and load the data that is needed. SAS Enterprise Edition is one BI solution suite that allows for Excel spreadsheets to be imported directly with little work on the data or can be used locally via a web browser. SAS also hosts online tutorials, videos, and a full range of professional community that if an individual becomes stumped, that they can get the help that they need. Moreover, the analytical solutions provide the latest quantitative and statistical methods available in the industry. The other BI tool that was chosen is SPSS, which stands for Statistical Package for Social Sciences, and is a statistical powerhouse that can edit and analyze various data in all formats used for the structured data such as spreadsheets, rational databases, SAS, and many more. With the use of SPSS and SAS, there is not a need for a storage medium because there is only two data sets. They are CSV files. However, if there was more data rolling in, then PostgreSQL would be a good fit because it is an open source relational database that integrates well with SAS. When structuring a BI solution, it is often important to obtain a visual representation of the flow of the processes and their relationship. The DFD, or data flow diagram, maps out how the data passes through the various business processes, whereas the entity relationship diagram, ERD, has to do with mapping out the relationships between the variables, which is a good practice to have when developing a relational database. Even though both of these tools were not utilized in this endeavor, they are brought up because the more data that is worked with, then the more likely it is that these tools are needed. In the event that SAS and SPSS could not hold the data sets, then a star schema could be formed to help in the visualization of how Postgres could be set up as a data warehouse. Many factors that come into play when working with data sets, and especially public ones, because as it will be shown in a moment, they can be quite messy, which if the data is not cleaned or this fact is not realized, then the incorrect inferences can be made. When the data sets are extracted, transformed, and loaded into SAS, it becomes apparent right off the bat that the data is not clean. And looking at the first table, this table here, it produced from running the employee review data set in SAS. And it's missing values, and the variables have incorrect values. Another thing that can be gleaned from simply running the data is that the data types and formats are not the way that they're supposed to be. There has been some work done to the data already, however there's still a lot that needs to be done to have vindicated results. As it has been said, the first data set is missing location values and ratings, but this does not mean that the data cannot be used, but that if the business decisions are going to be based off of it, then additional work has to be done. When looking at the results and not the tables themselves before insights can be gained, that will not only help fix the data, but make inferences later on. In the employee review data, there are 67,529 observations and 12 variables. The information also provides when the data set was created, the file size, deleted observations, and the observation length. This is all information that provides some ideas if the data has been tampered with or if there is corruption. It does not, however, bring up the fact that there are missing values or incorrect data. The next data table is where some of the information is given that leads the user to know that something is wrong with the data. Of course, some inferences have to be made from the table with the information on it and the results table, but even still they can be made. There are still 12 variables, but the types that are listed are a little off from the transfer from MS Excel to SAS. And this it has meant that some of the rating variables presented as characters and not numbers. The rate variables are ordinal, which means that there is a rating system with equal parts such as poor, fair, average, above average, and excellent. But this is not represented anywhere in the data set. The format of the rating should also be best 12 like the rest of the numbers, but it has been seen before, as has been gleaned before, the data has already been cleaned some because all the rating variables are shown up as numbers. The bottom analysis of the overview rating provides deeper knowledge of what actual insights can be gained from the data. The table states that the number of former and current employees that reviewed each company, the mean scoring, standard deviation, and minimum max scoring. Amazon has the most reviews, but Facebook actually scored the highest overall with regards to employee satisfaction. Since the presentation is supposed to be about Microsoft, then it should be said that Netflix and Amazon did worse as far as overall employee satisfaction than that of Microsoft. Now, from this overview, there can start to be other questions asked, such as what factors are benefiting Microsoft and what areas does the company need to work on. Other questions that can are if there is a correlation between what job that is being performed and the scoring, or if the year that the review was done has any bearing or not. The whole concept is that there should be a hypothesis before running correlation analysis or regression analysis. In the essence of time, and to be able to discuss further analysis and SPSS findings, the paces of this presentation must pick up. The dataset on the over 500 companies also has some problems with it, but I'll not get into too much detail other than to shed light on the fact that the results tables are the same as the last and provide the same information. And this one there was 520 observations and 15 variables. Since SAS is all about just numbers and characters, it can be stated that the numbers of employees within the company should be typed as a number, but other than that, there is not too much that can be inferred other than the formatting. Not too much will be said about the output tables other than the data looks good for the most part at face value, but scrolling through it, there are some missing values. You kind of see in the publics, the company category, there's one missing value. There'll be other tables. And then we get into the question was posed earlier that if employees' positions within the company correlated with the satisfaction rating, and running a simple summary statistics gives some validity to this notion. However, there has to be a correlation analysis run to make a final determination. Overall, from the information that is provided, analysis are happier with their jobs than Amazon warehouse workers. There are other inferences that can be made, but there are hundreds of entries to look at, though even still, and this is why further analysis of the data has to ensue. Just to provide a point about how data sets can seem to be accurate but really need to be cleaned or to be too corrupt to use, a summary analysis was run on GovLab data sets of over 500 companies. Found that the values of the number of employees is corrupt with the company names. This does not mean that the whole data set is useless, but that these disparities have to be taken into account and then adjusted accordingly. There are a number of analysis that can be run through SAS. However, if the time is taken to write the code to clean the data through SAS and then run the rest of the analysis, there would not be enough time to look into SPSS, what SPSS has to offer. With this being said, the data sets from SAS can be imported into SPSS to run further analysis or to make adjustments to continue the analysis in SAS. Python can also be utilized to make even more specific inferences and adjustments to datasets. However, this presentation is already pushing way too long. It is understood that the seemingly quick overview of business intelligence and analytic software has turned into a short story, but there is so much that can be done with just the two tools that are being brought up and so much that is being left unsaid. It would be more beneficial to break down each element and present a presentation on it, but this is supposed to be an overview of the awesome power of analytical software solutions and BI as a whole. Getting back on track, the next couple of tables are included to show the variable view and data view of the data sets in SPSS. Out of all the analytical software that I have had the pleasure of working with, SAS and SPSS are at the top, but SPSS actually accounts for missing variables and does some cleaning on the data, so it makes it just a little. Both tables that have been shown so far are the variable views in SPSS, and what is so innovative is that the values, measures, names, and the like can be changed instantly from here, and analysis can also be run. The data in SPSS is just that, but it allows the user to get a visual representation of what the data set looks like and what it will look like when it is printed off. Finally, the presentation has reached some real analysis of the data. As it has been stated that there should be some kind of hypothesis before embarking on other analysis, so in this regard, the null hypothesis is that there is no correlation between the dates of review and the overall review rating. And the alternative hypothesis is that there is a significant correlation between the overall review rating and the dates of review. The Pearson's correlation analysis has found that there is a significant correlation between overall ratings and dates because the p-value is 0.00, which is less than 0.05. The null hypothesis is rejected, and the alternative hypothesis is that there is a significant correlation has been accepted. What this means is that the company's reviews, good or bad, hinge on the date that the review was made. Now, if another analysis was run to pinpoint the various dates, then insights can be gained as to whether the company was doing better or worse in a specific satisfaction criteria. In this same manner as the last analysis, the null hypothesis is that there is no correlation between overall rating and senior management stars. And the alternative hypothesis is that there is significant correlation between overall rating and senior management. Again, the Pearson correlation analysis rejects the null hypothesis and retains the alternative hypothesis that there is a correlation between overall rating and senior management, because the p-value is 0.00, which is less than the 0.05. The null hypothesis is that there is no correlation between the year founded and the number of employees, and the alternative hypothesis is that there is a significant correlation between the year founded and and the year founded and the number of employees. Excuse me. Based on the judgment from the Pearson test, the null hypothesis is rejected and the alternative hypothesis is retained because the p-value is significantly less than the 0.05 threshold. This is evidence of significant correlation between the year that the company was founded and the number of employees. One caveat that will be given is that just because a company is older does not mean that there are more employees, because a vast majority of companies that were newer help more employees. This is why analysis are run, because intuition can be deceiving, whereas accurate data will always point in an unbiased direction. There is so much that can be gone over, but it will have to be saved for another time. But what has been demonstrated should show the validity of business intelligence and the necessity to make sure the data is clean. There are all kinds of analysis that could have been run, such as regression analysis, chi-square, and all kinds of forecasting that can be done once the data has been normalized and clean. The fact of the matter is that even though this presentation was long, the breakdown of the information was and is less time consuming than trying to manually run analysis. With all this being said, the purpose of this endeavor was to provide an overview of the capabilities of BI solutions, demonstrate the SDLC of the solutions, and provide a synopsis of how business analytics software can be used on sets. In closing, there is still a great number of innovations yet to come in the analytical field, and its viability can no longer be in question. Business intelligence is all around us, and it is just rather they are being used correctly or not.